Alright guys, I know most of you are discussing the new for 2025 coasters, and that's fine, but some of us are looking towards the future and looking to 2026. Now, there's a bunch of good looking rides coming out in 2026, like all the Six Flags ones, Hollywood Drift, that weird Alton Towers family coaster, and while they all look good except maybe that weird Alton Towers family coaster, there's one in particular that some people are talking about, but definitely not as many as I think there should be, and the people that are talking about it, I think are definitely underselling it, because the coaster that I'm talking about has the potential to be the greatest ride ever built. Yes, better than Air Force One, the Terrifying Triplets, all of those. And if you know me, that's saying a lot because I'm about as big of an Air Force One fanboy as there can possibly be. So me saying this thing has the potential to destroy it basically is insane. But of course, the coaster I'm referring to is the Holiday Park Extreme Spinner. Now, we don't know the layout for this yet, which is why there's like a 10% chance it might not be as good as I'm hyping it up. I'm definitely keeping that in the back of my mind that it might not be as good as I'm hyping it up to be. But from what we've heard from the park, yeah, this thing's going to be berserk. Apparently, according to the park itself, this ride is intended to be more extreme than Ride to Happiness. Okay? And Ride to Happiness is already considered by most to be one of, if not the most extreme coaster in the world. Now, obviously that's debatable. Obviously, I'd say Air Force One, some would say Panthurian, whatever. You could say whatever. I personally don't think it would be Air Force One for me, but there's a very small group of rides on my bucket list. I'm talking like 5 coasters that have a very slight chance of beating Air Force One, but they've got a chance, whereas like no other coaster does. And Ride to Happiness is definitely one of those few coasters. It looks bonkers. It looks like it has some of the strongest airtime in the world, some of the craziest laterals and everything, and you get insane spinning. It is a free spin. You are just ripping if you're off balance, and it looks like one of the greatest coasters ever built. It really does. And Holiday Park's just deciding to one-up that. I mean, that's absurd. From a business standpoint, I have no clue why they're doing that. It seems like a terrible business move, making it more extreme than Ride to Happiness. I mean, most people already say Ride to Happiness is their limit or goes beyond their limit. There's not too many people like me that don't really have a limit when it comes to intensity. So I think overall the GP won't be too big of a fan of this. I bet some enthusiasts won't be too big of a fan of this. But for those few people like myself that just want as intense of an experience as possible, I think we're going to get our dream coaster here. I really do. I have faith in the Europeans to cook up something absolutely stupid that no one else would. No one in America or Asia or Australia would cook it up. Of course, only the guys that let extremely young children play on extremely sketchy looking playground equipment unsupervised would cook up something like this. And I mean, I'm grateful for it. I'm definitely not saying no to this. So let's go over a few things that I hope to see on this ride. For one, I want a balls to the wall intense layout. And I think that's what we're going to get. I honestly think this layout could be top 10 in the world worthy without the spinning seats, which is something Ride to Happiness can't even say. I think the majority of people wouldn't have that in their top 10 if it didn't have the spinning seats, which made it so special. But this ride, I think, will be able to hold its own. I think given what Holiday Park is saying and the plot of land that they're given, they're really going to make an insane coaster here. And that's another thing. They have an extremely cool plot of land to work with. They're going to be by a body of water. They're going to be sort of on the other side of Expedition G-Force. It's not going to interact with that at all. And it's just going to be a really cool location by the looks of it. You could do a lot of cool stuff there. So I want to see some nice S-bends that really throw you around, almost Panthurian style. I would really love to see what that would be like with the spinning cars. I want to see some really fast-paced Heartline rolls like the arcade roll. I want to see insane ejector hills. I'd love to see a quad down on this thing. Air Force One style, but spinning cars. Again, I would basically like to see spinning cars on Air Force One. I think that would make the perfect coaster, basically. But there's not really too much to talk about with the layout. Mack Rides is going to do what Mack Rides wants to do, and I trust them to make greatness with this. So let's talk about one more thing, which is the theming. I think this can be one of the greatest themed coasters ever, And of course, objectively, it's not going to be as good as some of these Disney Universal coasters, but I think they could come up with something that's potentially subjectively better to some people, like myself potentially. I personally listen to a lot of music, but by far my two biggest genres are hip-hop and EDM. And of course, this ride will be based off the Tomorrowland Music Festival, which is a huge EDM festival. I would be so hyped to see this place go all out and build like the full-on structure and the stage that you see in Tomorrowland. I've always wanted to see that in person. I think that stage looks absolutely incredible, and it'd be so cool if they could build something similar to that. And usually I'm not too big of a fan of parks just blasting random music in the middle of the park, but you absolutely need to blast music here. I mean, I think they should be blasting EDM music louder than Steel Vengeance's Lift Hill here. They really should. That would really add to the atmosphere. You could have all these flashing lights around, and you could really make it feel like an actual EDM festival. You could have the coaster interact with pathways and have lights that are synced up to music maybe even. I think that would be really cool. If you got lights on the train and in the area synced to this Medusa and Martin Garrix music and all that, it would be so incredible. That might be the best atmosphere of any theme park land ever. So let me know what you guys think of the Holiday Park 2026 Extreme Spinner. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.